The check slid across the marble table like a piece of trash. $500. That was what my mother thought my absence was worth. "You're just too messy, Talia," she said, her voice dripping with disgust. "We need this day to be perfect for Sloan. Please just stay at your apartment on Saturday. We told the groom's family you're away on a spiritual retreat. We don't want any drama." I looked at my father, hoping for something, anything. But he just stared at his coffee cup like it held all the answers he refused to give me. They weren't just asking me to skip my sister's wedding. They were erasing me from the family entirely. My hand shook as I picked up the check. For 10 years I had swallowed every insult, paid every bill, and fixed every mess they created. And this was my reward. "Fine," I whispered. My mother smiled like she had won. But as I walked out of their house, I tore that check into tiny pieces and let them fall like confetti on their perfectly manicured lawn. They had no idea what they had just done. My name is Talia Vance, and I'm not the failure my parents think I am. For the past decade, they've called me boring, plain, unmotivated. They tell people I work some office job and barely make ends meet. They laugh when I show up in simple jeans instead of designer dresses. What they don't know is that I'm the CEO of Apex Events, the most exclusive event planning company in the state. We handle weddings for celebrities, politicians, and billionaires. And 6 months ago, my sister's fiancé hired us to plan his $5 million wedding. He has no idea that the professional woman he emails is his future sister-in-law. My parents have no idea that the venue, the flowers, the food, and every single detail of Sloan's perfect day exists because of me. As I drove away from their house that afternoon, I felt something cold settle in my chest. They wanted me gone. Fine. But they were about to learn that I wasn't just a guest they could erase. I was the one holding the keys to everything. Growing up, I was always the invisible one. Sloan was the golden child, beautiful and charming, while I was the responsible one who cleaned up her messes. When she crashed Dad's car at 17, I took the blame so she wouldn't lose her college scholarship. When she maxed out Mom's credit card on a shopping spree in Paris, I paid it off in secret so Dad wouldn't find out. I worked 2 jobs through college while Sloan partied. I lived in a tiny apartment while she got the big bedroom with the balcony. And every time I tried to speak up, Mom would say, "Don't be jealous, Talia. Not everyone can be special like your sister." I stopped trying to compete. Instead, I focused on building something they couldn't see or take away from me. I started Apex Events with money I saved from those 2 jobs. I worked 16-hour days, skipped family dinners, and slowly built an empire. They thought I was struggling. I let them think that. It was easier than watching them try to take credit for my success. 3 days after the banning, my work phone rang. It was Julian, the groom. "Hi, this is Julian Harper. I need to speak with the CEO about some last-minute changes." I switched to my professional voice, the one I used with clients. "This is she. How can I help you?" He sighed. "This is going to sound strange, but my fiancé's family is acting really weird. They keep making excuses about why her sister can't come to the wedding. I really like Talia. She's the only one in that family who seems real. Do you think there's something I should know?" My heart pounded. Julian was a good man, probably too good for Sloan. But I couldn't break my cover yet. "I'm sure it's just wedding stress," I said carefully. "Families can be complicated." He was quiet for a moment. "Yeah, guess. But if you see Talia at the venue, can you tell her I wanted her there? I tried calling but she's not answering." Promised I would. When I hung up, I stared at my phone. Julian was the only one who had ever defended me. And I was about to blow up his wedding day. That night, I reviewed the wedding contracts. My stomach dropped when I saw the catering agreement. My parents had used my personal credit card as the backup guarantor without asking. They must have stolen the number from my wallet during a family dinner months ago. I called the catering company immediately. "Hi, this is Talia Vance. I need to remove myself as the guarantor for the Harper Vance wedding." The manager hesitated. "Ma'am, if we remove you, the payment plan collapses." The family hasn't paid the deposit. That's not my problem anymore, I said firmly. I'm no longer associated with this event in a personal capacity. She agreed to send the updated paperwork. I knew what this meant. Without my card as backup, my parents would have to scramble to cover thousands of dollars they didn't have. The first crack in their perfect facade was forming. I poured myself a glass of wine and waited for the chaos to begin. It didn't take long. By midnight, my phone was buzzing with frantic calls from my mother. I turned it off and went to bed. The rehearsal dinner was held at an upscale restaurant downtown. I wasn't invited, obviously, but I sat in my car across the street and watched through the windows. My parents were in rare form, laughing loudly and clinking glasses with Julian's family. His father, Arthur Harper, was a billionaire who owned half the commercial real estate in the state. My parents were desperate to impress him. Then I saw the waiter approach my father with a concerned expression. The vintage wine they had ordered, the one that cost $3,000 a bottle, hadn't arrived. My father's face turned red. He started yelling at the waiter, then pulled out his phone. I knew exactly what had happened. I had been the one who ordered that wine as a gift weeks ago. But yesterday I canceled the payment. The waiter walked away, shaking his head. My mother looked like she was about to cry. Arthur Harper leaned back in his chair, watching them with an expression I couldn't quite read. The cracks were getting bigger. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and a voicemail from Sloan. I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. Talia, what the hell is your problem? Her voice was shrill, angry. Mom told me you're being dramatic again. Look, I don't have time for your issues right now. I need you to send me the password to the family cloud drive. All the wedding plans are in there and I can't access them. Stop being selfish for once in your life and just help me. I played the message 3 times, waiting for an apology that never came. She didn't care that I had been banned. She just wanted something from me. I opened my laptop and changed the password to the cloud drive. Then I sent her a text. The password is Ask Nicely 2024. Good luck with your perfect day. I knew she would explode when she saw it. But I didn't care anymore. They had pushed me too far, and now they were going to face the consequences of treating me like I was disposable. That afternoon, Julian's mother called my work phone. Hello, dear. This is Patricia Harper. I just wanted to confirm some details about the floral arrangements. We talked for 20 minutes about orchids and centerpieces. Then, at the end of the call, she said something that made my blood boil. It's such a shame about Sloane's sister. Her mother mentioned she's at some kind of rehab retreat for her instability. I hope she gets the help she needs. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. A rehab retreat. They were telling people I was unstable. I'm sure she's doing just fine, I said through clenched teeth. These things are often exaggerated. After I hung up, I sat in my office and made a decision. I wasn't going to hide anymore. I was going to that wedding not as the band sister, but as the CEO of Apex Events. I was going to walk in with my head held high and watch my parents realize exactly who they had thrown away. Let them try to explain that to their billionaire in-laws. Saturday morning arrived like a storm. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. First my mother, then my father, then Sloan, then my mother again. I let every single call go to voicemail. While they panicked, I got ready. I put on my sharpest black suit, the one I wore to close million-dollar deals. I styled my hair in a sleek bun and applied subtle makeup. I looked powerful, professional, untouchable. At the venue, chaos was unfolding exactly as I had predicted. The flowers were the wrong color because someone had changed the order without authorization. The band hadn't been paid their deposit, so they were threatening to leave. The ice sculpture was melting in the wrong room. Every single one of these problems existed because I had quietly removed myself from the backup plans my parents had relied on without knowing. Checked my watch. The ceremony was supposed to start in 3 hours. I sent a text to my assistant. I'm on my way. Let's make sure this wedding happens. Professionally. Then I climbed into the town car I had reserved and headed to the venue. Arthur Harper was not a stupid man. He had built his fortune by reading people, by seeing through lies and half-truths. And as he watched the Vance family scramble through the morning, he started to see the cracks. The mother was frantic, making phone calls and barking orders at staff who clearly didn't respect her. The father was throwing money at problems that money couldn't fix. And Sloane, the beautiful bride, was having a meltdown in the bridal suite over flowers. "Where is this sister they keep mentioning?" he asked his wife quietly. "The one at the retreat." Patricia shrugged. "I spoke with the event coordinator yesterday. She seemed to know the family well. She didn't mention any instability." Arthur filed that information away. Something wasn't adding up, and he had learned long ago to trust his instincts. If this family was hiding something, he would find out what it was before his son made the biggest mistake of his life. He pulled out his phone and sent a text to his lawyer. "Run a background check on the Vance family. All of them. I want it by noon." The town car pulled up to the venue's main entrance. I stepped out and immediately 3 staff members rushed over. "Welcome, boss," my assistant said, handing me a tablet. "We've contained most of the morning fires, but the catering situation is critical." I nodded and walked through the doors. The venue was stunning, a historic mansion with marble floors and crystal chandeliers. I had chosen it personally because I knew Sloane had always dreamed of getting married somewhere grand. Even after everything, I had still wanted her day to be beautiful. Staff members greeted me as I passed, calling me Ms. Vance or boss. I reviewed the checklist on my tablet, making notes and sending quick instructions. I was in my element, completely in control. Then I turned a corner and nearly walked straight into my mother. She was standing in the lobby, arguing with the florist. When she saw me, her face went completely white. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then her expression twisted into rage, and she started walking toward me. "How dare you show your face here?" My mother's voice echoed through the marble lobby. She grabbed my arm and tried to pull me toward the exit. "You'll ruin everything. I told you to stay away." I pulled my arm free and stepped back. Around us, staff members had stopped working to watch. My mother's face was red with fury, but I felt completely calm. "I'm here to ensure the contract is fulfilled," I said clearly. "Not to see you." I held up my security badge, the one that identified me as the CEO of Apex Events. My mother stared at it like it was written in a foreign language. What is that?" "This is my venue, mother." "Well, technically, it belongs to my company. The company that Julian hired to plan this wedding. The company that you've been emailing for months without realizing who you were talking to." The color drained from her face. Behind her, I saw my father emerge from the hallway. He saw the badge in my hand, and I watched the realization hit him like a truck. "Talia," he whispered. You're the CEO?" I smiled coldly. Surprise. The catering trucks were parked at the loading dock, but nothing was being unloaded. I walked out to find the head chef, a temperamental man named Marcus, refusing to release the food. "I was told the guarantor would be here to sign the final authorization," Marcus said, his arms crossed. "Until that happens, the food stays on the truck." My parents rushed out behind me, my mother's heels clicking frantically on the pavement. "Please, there must be some mistake," my father said, his voice desperate. "We can pay. The contract requires the guarantor's signature," Marcus interrupted. "That's Talia Vance. Is she here?" All eyes turned to me. My parents looked like they were about to be sick. Julian's parents appeared in the doorway, watching the scene unfold with increasing concern. "I'm Talia Vance," I said calmly. My mother made a choking sound. Arthur Harper's eyes widened with recognition, but he stayed silent, watching. "The guarantor?" Marcus looked confused. "But I was told you were at some kind of retreat." "Clearly that information was incorrect," I said. "Shall we review the contract?" I held all the cards and everyone knew it. "I'll sign the authorization," I said slowly, watching my parents' desperate faces. But I have one condition. My mother lunged forward. Anything. Just please. I want you to admit right here in front of everyone that I've been paying for your lifestyle for the past 10 years. The silence was deafening. My father's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Sloane had appeared on the loading dock, still in her robe, her face a mask of horror. Talia, please, my father finally said. Don't do this. Not here. Why not here? Yes. You had no problem lying about me here. You told everyone I was unstable, that I was in rehab. You erased me from your family to avoid embarrassment. So let's talk about the truth for once. Marcus started to walk back to his truck. Wait! My mother screamed. Fine. Fine, yes, Talia has helped us financially over the years. Helped? I laughed bitterly. I paid off your credit cards. Covered the mortgage. I paid for Sloane's car, her apartment, her designer clothes. Say it properly or Marcus leaves. Sloane's face was twisted with rage as she stormed across the loading dock. You selfish witch, she screamed. This is my wedding day. She raised her hand to slap me, but I caught her wrist easily. Years of her drama had taught me to see her moves coming from a mile away. I'm the only reason you have a dress to wear today, Sloane, I said quietly. I'm the reason you have flowers, food, music, and a venue. I'm the reason any of this exists. So act like a bride, not a brat. She tried to pull away, but I held firm. You were supposed to stay away, she hissed. You were supposed to disappear so I could have one perfect day without your boring, pathetic presence ruining it. Boring. I released her wrist. Is that what you think? That I'm boring because I work for a living instead of spending Daddy's money? Oh wait, it's not Daddy's money you spend. It's mine. Her eyes went wide. Behind her, I could see Julian standing in the doorway. His face was pale, and I realized he had heard everything. Julian walked slowly toward us, his hands in his pockets. He looked at Sloane like he was seeing her for the first time. How long has this been going on? He asked quietly. Sloane's anger evaporated into panic. Baby, I can explain. How long have you been treating your sister like this? His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. How long have your parents been lying about her? My father tried to step forward. Julian, this is a family matter. A family matter? Julian's voice rose. You told me Talia was unstable. You said she was in rehab. You made me feel sorry for you, like you were dealing with some tragic situation. But the truth is, she's been taking care of all of you, and you repaid her by banning her from the wedding. Arthur Harper stepped onto the loading dock. I think I'm beginning to understand the situation, he said slowly. He looked at me with new interest. Tell me, Ms. Vance, are you the Talia Vance who consulted on the Morrison merger last year? My heart skipped. The Morrison merger had been one of my biggest projects. Yes, sir. You saved that deal. My company made $40 million because of your work. He turned to my parents. And you told us she was in rehab. The ceremony was supposed to start in 30 minutes. After signing the catering authorization, I retreated to the control room at the back of the venue. From here I could manage the lights, sound, and every other technical aspect of the wedding. My assistant handed me a tablet. Everything's ready. The guests are being seated now. Through the security cameras, I watched the rows fill up. Socialites in expensive dresses, business partners in tailored suits, and my parents sitting in the front row, looking absolutely miserable. Sloane was in the bridal suite, being forced into her dress by a team of stylists who were working miracle. I had seen her face before she left the loading dock. She knew her perfect day was crumbling. But I wasn't cruel. Despite everything, I was going to make sure this wedding happened. I was going to make it beautiful, elegant, and flawless. Not for them, but because it was my job. Because I was a professional. And because I wanted them to know that even after they tried to erase me, I was still the one holding everything together. The music started. I dimmed the lights. The ceremony began. The ceremony was beautiful. Sloane walked down the aisle on my father's arm, and despite everything, she looked stunning. Julian waited at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, though his smile seemed strained. They exchanged vows, rings, and a kiss that felt more obligatory than passionate. Then came the reception. I stayed in my position at the back of the ballroom, managing everything from the shadows. Dinner was served without incident. The band played. People danced. Then Julian stood up to make his toast. I assumed he would thank his parents, praise his new wife, and sit back down. Instead, he cleared his throat and looked directly at the back of the room. "I want to thank someone who made this day possible," he said. "Someone who worked tirelessly to create this beautiful event, even though she was told she wasn't good enough to attend as a guest. Someone who has been supporting her family for years while they treated her like she was invisible." He pointed at me. "Talia Vance, would you please stand up?" Every head in the room turned. My parents looked like they wanted to die. I stood up slowly, my heart pounding. Arthur Harper rose from his seat. "Wait," he said loudly. "You're the Vance woman. The consultant." He walked toward me, his expression incredulous. "You're the one who saved the Morrison merger. You're the genius who restructured the entire deal in 72 hours. The ballroom erupted in whispers. Socialites pulled out their phones, no doubt looking up my company. My mother's face had gone completely white. "You told us she worked some office job," Patricia Harper said coldly, turning to my mother. "You said she was barely making ends meet." "We didn't," my mother started. "You lied," Arthur interrupted. "You lied about your own daughter to save face." "Why?" My father stood up, trying to regain control. "This is a misunderstanding. Talia, sweetheart, tell them this is all just a big misunderstanding." I walked to the center of the ballroom. Everyone was watching me now. "It's not a misunderstanding," I said clearly. "They banned me from this wedding because they thought I would embarrass them. What they didn't know is that I'm the reason this wedding exists at all." My mother rushed toward me, her face suddenly full of fake warmth. "Oh, darling, you're misunderstanding. We always knew you were brilliant. The retreat story was just a little joke to explain your absence." "A joke?" I pulled out my phone and held it up. "I have the voicemails, Mother. The ones where you call me boring, pathetic, and a disappointment. Would you like me to play them for everyone?" She stopped dead in her tracks. My father tried a different approach. "Talia, we're family. Surely we can work this out privately." "Family?" I laughed. "You mean the family bank? That's all I've been to you." I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. Inside was a detailed invoice, every cent I had loaned them over the past decade. I handed it to my father. "This is what you owe me. $273,000. I want it repaid within 90 days, or I'm taking you to court." His hands shook as he looked at the numbers. "Talia, please, we don't have this kind of money. Then you should have thought of that before you stole my credit card number and used me as a guarantor without permission." The ballroom was completely silent. Even the band had stopped playing. I turned to address my parents one final time. "I'm resigning as the family bank, effective immediately. I've already spoken to my lawyer. The house you live in, it's in my name. I bought it 3 years ago when you were about to lose it to foreclosure. It goes on the market Monday." My mother made a sound like a wounded animal. "You can't do this. Where will we live?" "That's not my problem anymore," I said. "You wanted a daughter who was less messy, less dramatic, less present in your lives. Congratulations, you got your wish." I looked at Sloane, who was sitting at the head table, tears streaming down her face. "I hope your marriage is everything you dreamed of. Really do. But you need to understand that actions have consequences. And today, you're learning that lesson." Arthur Harper started clapping. Slowly, others joined in. My parents stood in the middle of the ballroom, completely exposed, while everyone applauded the daughter they had tried to erase. I picked up my bag and walked toward the exit. The wedding would continue without me. It always did. I was almost to the door when Julian caught up with me. "Talia, wait." Turn. He looked exhausted, his tie loosened and his hair messy. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I had no idea they were treating you like this." "If I had known." "It's not your fault," I said gently. "But you need to understand something about the woman you just married. She's been enabled her entire life. She's never faced a real consequence." He nodded slowly. "I know. My father already told me he's putting a strict prenup in place. We're going to live on my salary, not his money, until Sloane learns what real work looks like." I was surprised. "That's pretty harsh." "It's necessary," he said. "I love her, but I'm not going to let her turn into her parents." He paused. "For what it's worth, I always liked you. You were the only real person in that family." "Thanks," I said. "That means more than you know." He hugged me briefly, then went back to his bride. I watched him go, wondering if their marriage would survive. Then I pushed open the doors and walked out into the cool evening air. My parents caught up with me in the parking lot. They were practically running, my mother's heels clicking frantically on the pavement. "Talia, please," my father called. "Don't leave like this. Come back to the reception. We can fix this." Kept walking. "You need to stay," my mother panted. "If you leave now, everyone will think we had a fight. The Harpers will think we're terrible people." I stopped and turned around. They looked desperate, panicked, nothing like the confident socialites who had banned me just days ago. "You are terrible people," I said calmly. "You spent 10 years using me as your personal ATM while telling everyone I was a failure. You banned me from my own sister's wedding to save face. You told people I was unstable and in rehab. And now you want me to stay so you don't look bad." My father reached for my arm. "Please, sweetheart. You wanted a wedding without drama," I said, pulling away. "This is what it looks like when I take the drama and the money with me." I got in my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I watched them standing in the parking lot, finally understanding what they had lost. 6 months later, the transformation was complete. My parents had moved out of their mansion and into a modest 2-bedroom apartment across town. Without my financial support, they couldn't maintain their lifestyle. The designer clothes were sold. The country club membership was cancelled. The luxury cars were traded for practical sedans. Sloane was learning what real life looked like too. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she was working as a receptionist at Julian's company. She shopped at discount stores and cooked her own meals. The princess had been forced to become a regular person. Arthur Harper had cut them off completely after learning the full truth. He told Julian that if he wanted his inheritance, he would need to prove himself without relying on family money. It was brutal but fair. As for me, my business was thriving. The wedding had become infamous in social circles, and oddly enough, it had brought me more clients. People wanted to hire the CEO who had pulled off a perfect wedding while exposing her family's lies. My phone rang constantly with new opportunities. Sometimes I wondered if I had been too harsh. Then I remembered the check for $500, and the feeling passed. 1 year later, I received an invitation in the mail. It was for my best friend's wedding, a small ceremony at a vineyard upstate. I had known Maya since college, and she had supported me through everything with my family. The invitation specifically said I was the guest of honor. I bought a beautiful blue dress, the kind I never wore when I was too busy working to support my parents. I got my hair done professionally. I took the entire weekend off and turned my phone completely off. At the wedding, I sat in the front row and cried happy tears during the ceremony. I gave a toast at the reception, danced with strangers, and laughed until my stomach hurt. No one needed me to fix anything. No one expected me to pay for anything. I was just a guest, a friend, a person who deserved to be there. As the sun set over the vineyard, I stood on the balcony with a glass of champagne and realized something important. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't fixing someone else's mess. I wasn't managing a crisis or covering up a lie. I was just happy. And that was worth more than any amount of money I had ever spent on my family. I raised my glass to the sunset and smiled. Finally, I was free.